mother, neither are you my woman. Sawa sawa.
Yes, Julia umesikia? You are not his mother or his woman, so keep on.
Ati men are supposed to be the head of the family, please. Whoever said that should be hand arrested or even killed.
Chaba.
If these are the leaders of tomorrow, then we actually do.
Hey, come on! This can't be our routine.
I have to tell you something.
Fine, you can tell me when you're seated.
Kinanjui, what have you done?
Shisia, can you help out here?
Alikuwa amechukua steering wheel na kiti ya mbele, yani kiti ya driver.
Ilikuwa ni kaa ya nani? Gari nani?
Ilikuwa na gari ya huyo mama Muhindi.
Mlikuwa hapo nikiwapelekea?
Hapana.
Alafu na mbona unaongea vitu ujui?
Lakini oni wewe iko pale ne.
Turaena au toka hapo bwana usingetee.
Kwa nini iko?
Sasa huyu ukimwongelesha lugha yako anaelewa.
For your information, mimi sina gari.
Very good. Kwa nini unaleta chiherere hapa? Why?
Chiherere? Footage inaonyesha vizuri wewe tu vile aliingia ndani ya gari. Akangangara. Akatoa. Akafunga. Alafu anamwambia mimi ni chiherere.
Mimi ulisikia mimi ndio nimeiba hiyo kiti na nimeiba hiyo steering.
Kulingana na ule mama ambaye mlikuwa mnavunja sheria na yeye unamwekea gari.
Kumbe wewe ulikuwa na sitaki story.
Nini?
Jibu swali yangu.
Wednesday, the 14th day of August 2024. Karibu sana to Good Morning Kenya. How are you doing? Still cold in the city. Other parts of the country are receiving some warm temperatures depending on where you are. All right, nonetheless, the show must continue. And welcome to the program. Now, in under 1 minute, I want us to make sense of something here. Raila, that is former Prime Minister, yesterday in Elgeyo Marakwet made some assertions that it is former President Uhuru Kenyatta who first approached him to have a phone call or to look for President William Ruto for dialogue. That was during the wake of the Gen Z demonstrations. Well, I want us to go back to 2022 general elections. During that point, the campaign period, we were all here. And we saw what happened. It was the two factions, the dynasties versus the hustlers. And most of the political pundits say that it was a vote against former President Uhuru Kenyatta. So in politics, they say nothing happens for a reason, by accident. It's well planned and calculated. So my questions are this. Raila made assertions yesterday that it was Uhuru Kenyatta who approached him. Let's remember these two things. When people voted, they voted Uhuru out. Number two, after the elections, we all saw what happened to former President Uhuru Kenyatta. His farm at Northlands was attacked by perceived goons and all that. 2 months later, around 2 months ago, Kanzidena, his spokesperson, said there's some reminiscence and some benefits that have never been given to that office. And so now, former Prime Minister coming out and making assertions that it was Uhuru Kenyatta who first approached him to have a conversation with President William Ruto. Some questions are now here. So where does that leave Rigathi Gachagwa's power in all this? 2 weeks ago, word has it that some top government officials in the office of the Deputy President were questioned over the demos. Number two, where does that leave Rigiji in Mount Kenya? Now that it is former president who approached former prime minister to have that conversation with the president. And the kingpinship battle in the mountain is still rife. So where does that leave the two gentlemen from the mountain? That is just my personal question to all of you. We can answer it all together on my social media handles at Victor Law or at KBC Channel 1. Vivian, You get it?
Good morning.
Good morning.
And I get what you're saying. And, you know, when they say with politics, you never really know, you know, what could happen in only a day even. So we're going to be... You know, the more that the days get to unfold, then we'll be also getting to see things unfold. And even the questions that Victor has directed to you back at home, I mean, we'll see them unfold. We'll get to know what really is, how things are going to pan out. You know, with the Mount Kenya politics specifically, we'll get to know as the days go by. Before I get into what I'll be having today, I don't know if you guys saw the reception that the Olympics team from Botswana got to receive. Yeah. I mean, they got to fill up an entire stadium. Not just any stadium, their biggest stadium. The biggest stadium they have in the country. They received their athletes. They filled up that stadium and they got to give them such a warm welcome back home. And mark you, they only got, okay, they got, let me not put only, they got 2 medals. Yes. They got a gold, 1 gold and 1 silver. But the reception, I mean, it felt like they were #1.
It was kingly.
I mean, so it was such a good sight. Our athletes also got to get some good reception at the airport. The ones who jetted in just the other day, well, it was good. But I think we could do better when it comes to receiving our people and just getting to appreciate what they do for us as a country, because they did as well. I mean, #1 in Africa.
Yes, and bagging more than, I mean, 11... A total of 11 medals. Yeah. That is no mean feat, given the kind of competition that was witnessed in Paris. Yeah.
All right. That aside, today being a Wednesday, I'll be having a conversation on drug abuse, and we'll be looking at drug abuse among the Kenyan youth. And joining me for that will be one Rita Kayo. She is the capacity building officer from NACADA. Mike, good morning.
Good morning. And alluding to what Victor has said, it also points to how the politics of the mountain are panning out, especially now that there are some members of the opposition that have been included in government. Some are questioning why the president had to cede some percentage of the government to the opposition. So some critics have come out to question why, and also talk about this aspect of including the opposition in government. And also, yesterday the president also defended his broad-based government, and he seems to be attracting support from some people who have been ardent critics of his leadership, one of which is Simba Arati, who said the Gusii community will be behind the president in trying to support him to achieve or execute his mandate and make good his promises that he did promise in 2022 during the campaign period. Another aspect that came out last week during the inauguration or the swearing in of the cabinet secretaries is the aspect of zero-based budgeting. Are we ready for zero-based budgeting? Is it practical? Are we going to see a change if we adopt it? Because the president had said it is going to be effected or being taken into account in the 2025-2026 financial year. Those are some of the things we'll be looking at. I'll be joined by Honorable Peter Orero, who is MP for Kibra, and Honorable Francis Mwangangi, who is the Deputy Governor of Machakos County, and also Honorable Wilson Sosion, who is a former nominated MP. Good morning, Ray.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, so much is happening in the political scene. Just to give my comment in regard to where we are politically, well, when it comes to who carries the day in the mountain, well, it's a wait and see, so to speak, because we cannot rule out the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua as well as former President Uhuru Kenyatta. Now, Vivian, you mentioned the reception that is Lesile Tebogo received. Yeah. So in details is that he receives, or rather he should receive, 2 houses from the government. That is according to the Minister of Youth, Sports and Gender and Culture, Tumiso Rankare. And the Golden Boy will also be awarded 2 houses which are already ready for his occupation. While the other relay team members will also receive houses from the government. Wow. That's just an update in regard to that particular reception that he received there. And remember also, the government there decided to give, rather to have a public holiday in celebrating that particular achievement.
They did.
Yes.
Now, that win was actually a first for Africa. The 200 meters race was a first for Africa. So it deserves all that. It does.
It was. And then I've seen a lot of conversation, especially on social media platforms, is that are we honoring our heroes and heroines, especially in the sporting arena? And so many questions are abound to even the performance. We may have had the greatest medal heist with 11 there, with 11 medals bringing home. But then we could have done better, especially with our, male athletes, or rather male sportsmen who participated in this global showpiece that just ended early, actually on Sunday. And the questions to the performance: why do we have our athletes opting to give their services, or, to run for, in direct translation, other countries and such? It's because of the perks and the incentives that they may be offered there. There's actually a story yesterday, and I'm sure you guys highlighted it, that there are some rogue government officials who are aiding in that particular talent drain when it comes to the sports docket. And talking about sports is that today we're expecting a lot of handover ceremonies happening between various cabinet secretaries. Remember, at least 11 of them have made their way back to the cabinet after that particular reshuffle by President William Ruto. So we're going to be keeping tabs on that and just bringing you up to speed with what they have identified as their main targets or their low-hanging fruits at a time when Wanjiku is keenly watching if this particular move by President William Ruto will be effective and efficient for the public. Good morning, I'm Regina Manyara. We have updates from the local scene as well as international scene as Israel continues its onslaught of Palestine along the Gaza Strip. Now we start off local, where President William Ruto has told of critics of the newly formed broad-based government that has seen the inclusion of members from the opposition wing, the Orange Democratic Movement. Now speaking in Kiambu, Kisii County, while on his second day tour of the Greater Gusii region, the president insisted that there comes a time when the interests of the country supersede any other interest. Here's Abdiaziz Hashim with the details.
For the second day running, the president continued with his tour of both Kisii and Nyamira counties with development goodies that included a cancer treatment center in Nyaribari Chache.
Tuko na bilioni 3 ya kujenga hii facility kutoka marafiki zetu wa Saudia, benki ya Badea na serikali ya Kenya. Furahi kwa hii cancer center hapa Kisii. This is a milestone in our health interventions, not just in this region, but in the country.
A level 4 hospital in Keroka. And an affordable housing project in Ekambo. The president, accompanied by his deputy Rigathi Gachagua, saying his action was in the realization of his plan that propelled his administration to power.
Unajua kuna watu wananiambia ninaenda huko nje kufanya nini? Ati sijui naenda kumangamanga, sijui kufanya utalii. Sasa wacha mimi niwatangazie. Safari yangu ya China ndio hii pesa 3.5 billion ya watu wa Nyamira. Hapa tunaanzisha hiyo barabara kesho.
Rais amesema hapa Kisii lazima maendeleo ikue hapa. Si amefanya vizuri?
The president stating that this is not the time for Kenyans to be divided and allowing individual interest to supersede the public good.
Ndio sababu juzi mimi nimetengeneza serikali, nimeunda baraza la mawaziri ya kuunganisha Wakenya wote, kwa sababu imefika wakati ambapo umoja wa nchi, maendeleo ya nchi ni muhimu.
Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua urging those opposed to the newly formed broad-based government to shelve their political interests and work towards the common good of the populace.
I want to ask those leaders who still have doubts, I want to tell them there is a moment in the history of a nation when we must come together. for the greater good, for the greater transformation of our nation called Kenya. And this is such a moment.
The head of state urging locals to support a part of the finance bill measures once reintroduced to unlock 130 billion shillings to upgrade roads in the country.
Lakini sasa unajua niko na shida kubwa. Kwa sababu sasa nilikuwa nimepanga hiyo barabara. Nilikuwa nimeweka pesa 130 billion kwa budget yetu. Sasa watu wengine wakatoka hapo na kisirani finance bill wakaangusha. Sasa hiyo watu, mimi nataka tukubaliane. Mimi lazima nirudie hiyo kazi ama namna gani?
The president further urged leaders from the region to work towards delivering on their pledges and stop supremacy battles. For the second day running,
well, we'll be keeping tabs with the president there. Shim has been on ground on that particular tour of Gusii region. Now, we cross over to Meru County, where the impeachment motion against Meru Governor Kawira Mwangaza is set to be canvassed today in a special sitting by the Senate. The Senate, who are currently on a short recess, will convene to either set up a committee to probe the allegations against her and table the findings, or opt to probe the allegations against her through plenary. This will be the third time she will be appearing before the Senate to defend herself against the impeachment charges since she assumed office 24 months ago.
The Senate finds itself once more immersed in the murky waters of the political matrix in Meru. On Thursday, 40 out of 60 members of the Meru County Assembly approved a motion tabled by Deputy Majority Leader Zipporah Kinya to impeach Governor Kawira Mwangaza over accusations of abuse of office and gross violation of the Constitution. Despite invalidating 2 impeachment motions that landed on the floor of the Senate, senators will tomorrow convene for yet another special session to hear the new charges against Mwangaza. If the Senate opts to set up an 11-member ad hoc committee to hear the charges against her, the committee will have 10 days to probe and report back to Senate, with a report recommending the upholding or the rejection of the impeachment. A plenary hearing will last for 2 days, and senators will deliver their verdict thereafter. This comes amidst calls for the president to invoke relevant articles of the Constitution and dissolve the county, owing to the unending wrangles between the county executive and the county legislature.
There are a lot of questions on whether Governor Kawira Mwangaza is going to survive this time, and you can bet that you're going to be keeping tabs on that, looking at the region, Meru region, and looking back at her background. There is when she was actually campaigning for this particular seat, top seat in Meru County. She did it on an independent term, and only later the president himself actually acknowledged the G7. These are the G7 female governors that we have in the country. We'll be keeping tabs on that. Will she survive? Will she not? Well, it's a matter of wait and see. Now, legislators have summoned a newly sworn in Treasury Cabinet Secretary Mbadi over the delay in the disbursement of funds allocated to critical agencies under the Ministry of Trade, Industrialization and Cooperatives.
Because we know everything takes time because the procedures have to be followed. What are we going to do in this whole financial year when these particular agencies cannot be able to do anything? Are we leaving them to die? Are we leaving them to close the shops? Or what is the intention of Treasury in terms of bailing out this important sector? In this financial year, out of 5 billion, due to austerity measures, their allocation was reduced from 5 billion, and it was reduced to 3 billion Kenya shillings. Thereafter, still, they also faced further cuts from 3 billion. Another 1 billion was cut, and those seriously affected areas are those particular areas, because once you mention specific economic zone, you are mentioning industrialization. When you mention EPZDA, you are mentioning industrialization. Those are key. Then the other sector is agriculture, where now coffee comes in. And those are the major areas of effect where this failure of disbursement touched on.
Now the government has moved to forestall an impending teachers' strike called by the Teachers Union NAT over the implementation of their 2021 collective bargaining agreement. The teachers who have issued a strike notice which could paralyze learning in third term are seeking between a 7% and 9% salary increment. NAT Secretary General Collins Oyu says the delay in the implementation of the CBA has led to growing dissatisfaction within the teaching fraternity.
On the 7th of August 2024, the Kenya National Union of Teachers and the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers issued a one-week strike notice threatening to disrupt the third-term school calendar. The teachers are demanding the implementation of the second phase of the 2021 collective bargaining agreement that was supposed to take effect on the 1st of July 2024. Among other concerns by the teachers is the operation of the teachers' medical scheme, the non-remittance of SACCO and loan deductions, and delays in the payment of retirement benefits for teachers exiting service. The teachers' unions are also calling for the permanent employment of intern teachers and the hiring of an additional 20,000 teachers, among others. In a move aimed at forestalling the strike, Labour and Social Protection Cabinet Secretary Dr. Alfred Mutua Tuesday met the Kenya National Union of Teachers officials. The CS assuring the union that the government is keen on ensuring prompt response and engagement to avert constant industrial actions.
We will be arresting issues way before any industrial action, so that we can find out how we can solve problems in a harmonious way, make it comfortable for employers, make it comfortable for employees to be able to work together so that we can increase productivity in our country.
Mutua further promised to act as a link between the unions, Teacher Service Commission and the Education Ministry to find a long-lasting solution.
And I have promised to take it up as a fair and arbitrator to talk to the other side, which is the Teacher Service Commission and the Ministry of Education, to come up with solutions of issues that we can solve together.
We had written to Teacher Service Commission about several grievances which we wanted Teacher Service Commission to respond to. What brought us here is one other step of registering with Waziri that we have a dispute with the employer. He has told us clearly that he's taking up the matter, and in a week's time, he shall have addressed it with the employer.
Now school is set to resume at the end of this month, dates being around the 26th of August. In 1 week, we'll see the direction that government will have taken with the teachers there. Now, the National Environment Management Authority has issued a stern warning to households discharging waste into rivers, cushioning of the severe environmental and health risks associated with the practice. The authority, through its Director General Mamo Boru, says those polluting the waters and those who have illegally occupied riparian lands in Nairobi County will be held liable as per the law. Mamo was speaking during a crackdown of individuals polluting the environment within City Park in Nairobi County. Additionally, he called on Nairobi City Water and Sewerage Company to repair all leaking sewer systems with immediate effect.
Will not allow this to happen, and my teams, the environmental inspectors, are going to go around to audit the sites along the Nairobi River to ensure that we do not have effluent discharge coming into our Nairobi River's ecosystem. Along the river basin, there are a number of sites with broken sewer lines, and from next week, my team are going to undertake proper audit and ensure that we take proper enforcement action. For Nairobi City Water Company, we've already given them a restoration order to ensure that they map out all the discharge points and ensure that it's fully stopped.
The community is growing bigger and the line maybe it's smaller. So we are trying to improve on that one immediately.
Police in Homa Bay County have launched investigations into the murder of a 68-year-old woman by unknown individuals in Nyagida village. The late Winkista Ogada was found by a relative who had gone to check on her only to find her dead. Ogada, who is also deaf and dumb, had marks on her face indicating struggle before meeting her untimely death.
Nyagida of village is in sorrow following the murder of a 68-year-old woman by unknown assailants. Wilkista Rodanga lifeless body was discovered by a relative that went to check on her. Investigators believe the assailants accessed the deceased home through this scar that was made on the door. Her inability to speak now being attributed to the danger she was exposed to, as relative also believe she was sexually abused.
Kufika napata kama wamekata mlango kidogo alafu amenyongwa. Amefura huku tena wamemkwaruza na vidole. Kama ni vijana wabadilishe tabia. Maana hakuna kitu chochote kimechukuliwa kwa hiyo nyumba.
Authorities camped around the homestead looking for clues that may lead to the arrest and prosecution of the criminals, even as they urge locals to volunteer any information that may lead to the apprehension of the criminals. This even as police in Kairi-Mathioya constituency, Murang'a County, came on the spot after being captured on surveillance cameras breaking into the home of former member of County Assembly in Murang'a County, Joseph Mashiri, before allegedly abducting him. The 11 p.m. incident has left his family traumatized as the police broke in and then proceeded to switch off the lights. Prior to this, the son David Mashiri had allegedly been abducted by people believed to be police officers at his Thugoto home, Kiambu County.
Na wakaniambia sisi ni polisi. Nikawaambia polisi gani inavuja milango? Wakaniambia wewe tutakupiga risasi. Toka hapa. Sasa wakakuja wengine wanne. Wale walikuwa watatu. Sasa nikaona hawa siwezani na hawa. Acha mimi niende.
They broke into the house, albeit notwithstanding that they are small kids as young as 2 years, 3 years, traumatizing them and traumatizing the entire family.
According to their lawyer Ndengwa Jiru, it is alleged that the two are abducted after the court granted them bail in an ongoing fraud case pitting David Mashiri against a local bank in a 1.5 billion shilling fraud case.
To Baringo, survivors of the Wednesday night devastating landslide in Chebogei village, Baringo North constituency, narrated the harrowing ordeal they went through that left 5 people dead and others homeless as their houses were destroyed. The affected residents, currently taking refuge at Kasitit Primary School, are calling on the government to relocate them to safer grounds.
Barely a week after a catastrophic landslide struck Chebogel village in Baringo North constituency, leading to the loss of 5 people, residents recounted the moments of the tragedy. Monica Litey described in great detail the frightening scenes when the ground shook violently.
Nikasikia boma mwingine wanalia. Mama mwingine anaitwa Mama Margaret Rotich na watoto yake wawili wanasema uniokoe. Kupiga hapo kwa hiyo boma kwa Samuel Jesora, watoto wawili na mama yao walikuwa chini ya mchanga. Walikuwa wamefunikwa. Mimi nikaanza kushika hawa walikuwa tu wamepaka na vichwa tu peke yake. Lakini miti ya nyumba ilikuwa imefunika pande hiyo yote mpaka shingo tu inabaka. Nikaokoa hawa mama yao na watoto wawili. Pata hawa wakuja watoke nje hivi, nikaanza kukimbia kwa boma mwingine kuita majirani.
Lona Kibet, another survivor, narrated how she escaped death by a whisker as she fled from her mud-encased home to a nearby house.
Sasa kuna matope yenye iliingia kabisa nyumba kubwa sana, ikasukuma kitanda ya watoto. Nikapitisha watoto kwa dirisha. Kufika nje, kendangi kaanguka. Kuanguka tukakimbia kwa gogo. Kukimbia kwa gogo, kufika kwa gogo kukaa chini tukasikia nduru. Ndiye pasinya wako chini. Kukimbia kuangalia ni mama na wasichana wake wawili wamefunikwa na mchanga.
The disaster has had a devastating impact on Zakaria Ruto, who lost his wife and 2 sons in the landslide. Only his 2 daughters survived.
Ilipata mama na vijana yangu wawili. Mtoto ya class 5 na kijana ya form 1. Na ya ndugu yangu form 3.
Currently, the survivors are taking refuge at Kasisit Primary School and are urgently appealing to the government for resettlement.
Ruta wetu mwenye tulikupea kura, utusaidie kwenda. Utusaidie. Tunalia kwa uchungu. Tunalia kwa uchungu, mahali penye tunaishi is very dangerous.
Huko sisi haturuti tena. Haturuti. Kama tumetoka sahi, haturuti, tutaishi hapa shule mpaka serikali atuambie ya kwamba tutaenda wapi.
Na wachukue Kapchopogel iwe sehemu ya forest na watafutie pale pengine pasuri. Maana kama imepasuka sahi, tuko na hofu ya kwamba pengine itaanza kupomoromoka kama vile imeporomoka.
During a visit to the disaster site, Area Member of Parliament Joseph Makilap called on the government to provide alternative land for the victims, stressing the critical need for immediate action for their safety.
Tumekubaliana na serikali kwamba watu ambao wanaishi sehemu ile dangerous, sababu watu ya geology wamesema sehemu hiyo ni mbaya. Serikali itafanya kila juhudi na ile wizara ya Kenya Forest Service ili waweze kufanya ile kitu inaitwa land exchange na Kenya Forest Service, ndio sehemu hiyo yote tupandie miti na hawa watu ya hapa waweze kusaidiwa pale nyingine ya kuishi kama Wakenya wengine.
Now we take a quick breather. When we're back, we're going to be looking at what is making headlines in the business circles. Do not go away.
Thank you for joining us on Healthy Living. Stay connected to Voice of America at voanews.com. A look at your kidneys and how they impact your health. And an expert discusses chronic kidney disease and how to protect yourself. And Ivorian psychologist Noor Bakayoko shares some insights on bullying and what can be done.
It's important to avoid major events or major health crises.
How do you know if your cough is due to a serious condition? We'll have some answers. Stay well
and strive to make every day a healthy day.
In what's in your kitchen's menu today, we will be making pan-seared fillet, mashed potatoes, and a red cabbage slaw. For the ingredients, we have our fillet, of course, our potatoes, the red cabbage, some vegetables, butter, spices.
So you can go ahead and start mashing this as a finish on our salads. So I'm done actually with the cabbage.
Okay, so Sheena, our fish is already smelling like it's ready.
Yes, it is. I think we can give it a quick turn.
The food has been amazing, Sheena. Thank you so much for being on the show. And until next time, kuleni kwa macho.
Good morning once again. I'm Regina Manyara. Well, if you're tuning in, this is in the headlines there. We just took a quick breather, some of us, to sip some hot stuff. And we get going. Now we speak business, where Kenya has entered into a strategic partnership with Chinese government to provide funding to increase research and innovation on production of various climate-smart crop varieties in efforts to boost food security. Here's Frederick Moki with the details.
Kenya, like many other African countries, is grappling with severe impact of climate change, including erratic rainfall patterns, prolonged droughts, and devastating floods. These extreme weather conditions have significantly affected food production of crops such as maize and wheat, which are staple food for millions of Kenyans. The development of resilient crop varieties is therefore essential to ensure consistent food supply and to reduce vulnerability of smallholder farmers.
Been able to come up with the varieties that are tolerant and they're resistant, and farmers now have access to these varieties because they've been released formally by KEFIS. And so with that, farmers having access to these tolerant disease and pest tolerant varieties, it makes them have hope.
Speaking during the Africa-China Summit Science Forum in Nairobi, International Maize and Wheat Improvement Center Director General Bram Aguvat said Kenya can accelerate the development of maize and wheat varieties by attracting more funding with agricultural partners.
Doing here is saying this is what we can do. This is what we can help solving. So many million of farmers, so many million of consumers will be better off. Now we have the technical capacity, we have the partnership. If we show that, I am convinced that we can attract the resources from Kenya, from private sector, from foundation, international investors, including China, including other countries.
Kenya is set to host another global conference next month in Mombasa. Delegates from at least 22 countries will converge for the Technology Information Confederation Africa Conference to discuss strengthening access to digital infrastructure, harnessing emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, big data analytics, robotics, and virtual reality, as well as address cybersecurity and data protection. ICT and marketing professionals, policymakers, innovators, and the academia have confirmed participation in the conference.
Had quite a range of investment efforts. We have a number of ventures that are discernible within our ICT spectrum, and I believe there are more and more investments that are in the way. What becomes crucial is for the country to have a good policy framework that nurtures the environment for more and more investment. Because ICT is very promising, but remember, we say that ICT is just a tool. You have to appropriate it in a particular way for it to yield results that are intended.
Cannot ever overemphasize the significance of technology in marketing at the moment. It's about probably between 50 to 70% of marketing. Digital marketing has become part and parcel of marketing. So for us to meet together annually and have these discussions together is could not have been more timely.
Conservationists have petitioned Tanzania to help address the issue of trophy hunting of elephants along the border with Kenya. They argue that particular move puts super tuskers at risk and as such wants the government to rescind its permits.
The greater Amboseli West Kilimanjaro elephant population is estimated at 2,000, whose range spans between Kenya and Tanzania. While Kenya banned trophy hunting in 1977, the activity is still legal in Tanzania, subject to getting relevant licenses. Conservation's fear that the latest issuance of trophy hunting permits by the Tanzanian government threatens to erode gains gained over the last 3 decades after a moratorium on trophy hunting of this transboundary elephant population was agreed between the two nations.
These elephants are unique. They are some of the largest tusked elephants in the world. They are few, they are a unique genetic population, and they range across the international border.
We only have 10 super tusker elephants left in the Amboseli population. We cannot be the generation that allows these super tuskers to die. We must be the generation that comes together to say we have to protect them, that comes together and say we have to save them.
The petition emphasizes the significant ecological and economic value of the Amboseli West Kilimanjaro elephant population, a unique genetic reservoir that transcends national borders.
I wish all the stakeholders, as into the conservation of animals and probably elephant is concerned, should join together and come up with a strategic on how to protect these creatures, because we may end up losing these creatures.
Experts warn that trophy hunting could wipe out super tuskers within the next 3 years.
Kwa sababu ni mnyama na ajui anaenda kukula wapi, wasiowe ndovu. Kwa sababu poli inagwana na hii ya Kenya na wakioa watafanya makosa.
Only 10 elephants with tusks weighing between 45 kilograms each remain in the Amboseli ecosystem, which has the highest density of these mammals.
Wanapo cross kwenda Tanzania, hapo ndo wanaenda kuuliwa. So you can imagine the pain we feel as elephant trust. Juu sasa imagine una protect kitu, but kuna wengine wana encourage mahali.
Those are transboundary elephants there along the Kenya-Tanzania border. If you are into films, especially when it comes to conservation and such, you must have seen a film made by some producers some years back about Tim and Echo. Well, and also if you want to see Ahmed, that is in the Nairobi National Museum, well, you need to make a trip there and see how big that particular mammal was. And now that we look at only 10 super tuskers that are within that particular ecosystem that are currently in danger of extinction if Tanzania does not rescind the permits to trophy hunting there. Now to sports, the National Paralympics team has intensified training at its camp in Copain, 7.3 kilometers from French capital Paris, ahead of the games set to be held between the 20th of August and 8th of September. Team Kenya captain, multiple Paralympic champion Samuel Mushai and his deputy rower Asiya Sururu said the camp will help them acclimatize ahead of the games, where they hope for improved performance. Team Kenya Chief de Mission Dennis Muga disclosed that they have endeavored to provide the best in the camp for the team of 14 athletes and 7 guides with a view of producing the best results.
I was more of green, like a beginner. I didn't know what it takes, how it is to be a Paralympian. But for this Paris 2024, it's different, because I'm actually aware of the situation, how it is done, and how to do it, and how to execute it. Yeah.
Kwanza nashukuru wachezaji walinipatia nafasi ya kuwa nahodha wao, na nawashukuru sana, na naweza nikasema hii timu imejiandaa vizuri na kila mmoja naona ako sawa, na natarajia kila mmoja atajituma na atafanya vizuri katika mashindano ambayo yako mbele yetu. Hakuna yule ambaye ako na shida, kila wachezaji wote wako sawa na kila mmoja anajiandaa vilivyo ili aweze kuona tunapeleka ushindi katika nchi yetu ya Kenya.
All the best for the team of 14. Let's hope you're going to bag more medals. That puts a cap on matters in the headlines here on Good Morning Kenya, but we're not done on this particular show. We have candid conversations around politics as well as matters of development at a time when the news desk is looking at several stories, including what is going to be happening in Gusii today, or rather the larger Gusii region during the president's tour, as well as keeping tabs on what is happening as far as health is concerned, given that particular report in regard to matters of Mpox being a public health issue concern around in Africa, including Kenya, DRC, and Uganda there. We're also going to be keeping tabs on the change of guard in various ministries, or rather ministries here, as various cabinet secretaries actually hand over mantles to those who are taking up after them. So we have that particular changeover between the trade and investment as well as tourism, and we are going to be bringing you live those particular ceremonies there. That puts a cap on matters in the headlines, as I said. Just to remind you that we are also keenly focusing on what is happening in the United States. Remember, in November, they're going to be going to the polls, and the campaigns have intensified while Israel continues its assault on Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. I'm Regina Manyara. Have a great day ahead.
All right, there. Thank you, Regina. That was Regina Manyara with the news, and now we shift gears and get right into the Viewpoint. And today being a Wednesday, let us start with what is making headlines in our local dailies, and I'll start with the Daily Nation. That is, saying here, you are on your own. This is the first story that is carried on the front page of the Daily Nation. You are on your own over high power bills, too hot to handle. Kenyans will have to dig deeper into their pockets to purchase electricity. The National Assembly last year launched an investigation into the high cost of power and tasked a committee chaired by Mwala MP Vincent Musyoka to present a report in 120 days on how to cushion consumers. However, a year later, there's no clear roadmap on how to bring down power prices. That story, you'll find it on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation. Uhuru asked me to reach out to Ruto. That is Raila. Azimio leader Raila Odinga says a phone call from former President Uhuru Kenyatta made him and President William Ruto agree on broad-based government to salvage the country. On the front page of the Star newspaper, quickly, I'm right to work with Raila. That is the president saying, or the Star is writing, Ruto fires at his critics. President says sometimes the country's interests supersedes others. That story is told in details on page 6 of the Star newspaper. On the front page of the Standard, Uhuru hand in Ruto Raila deal. That is the cabinet. Uhuru's hand in Ruto Raila cabinet deal, in spite of President saying that he was the one who sought a deal between the government and opposition. Raila Odinga yesterday claimed it was former President Uhuru Kenyatta who intervened to save the country. Now, this is one of the things that we'll be tackling in this segment. And in studio, I'm joined by Wilson Sosion, who is a former nominated MP. Karibu sana.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
And also MP for Kibra, that is Honorable Peter Orero. How are you doing? It's been a minute since we last saw each other here on Good Morning Kenya.
Yeah.
Yes. You've been good?
Today I'm here.
Yes. Karibu sana. Yes. Now, the Uhuru's hand in Ruto Raila cabinet deal. Let me start with you, MP Mheshimiwa Orero. In spite of the president saying in spite of the president William Ruto, who was the one who sought a deal between government and opposition, Raila Odinga yesterday claimed it was former President Uhuru Kenyatta who intervened to save the country. What is your take on that?
I think sometimes this country is bigger than all of us. And when we reach certain threshold that we cannot manage, it's always good that we have a conversation. And the conversation that people have, in this case, you have seen we have a former president, we have a former prime minister, and the current president of this country. Mm-hmm. Until you are at the helm of leadership, you might not know the intricacies that come with the authority and governance within the country. Now, these are people who have seen it all. They have been there for this country. They have governed for this country. And they know what can precipitate, what can make this country fall apart. And when they take certain actions for the interest of the country, then sometimes the masses follow their action. So when we heard yesterday that the former prime minister said a phone call from the former president made him reach out to Uhuru. Reaching out can mean him calling or the other person calling. It's about the consent that he agreed that they could have a talk between themselves. So it is about is it the semantics? Is it the adjectives? Is it the way that it is put?
Okay, I'm told your mic has a problem. I'll come back to you on that. Let me engage Honorable Sosion on the same matter. The president, Raila Odinga, says Uhuru called him and told him to have a conversation with the president. What do you think of that?
There is nothing to think about. And I think just Raila is expressing his own relationship with Uhuru Kenyatta. And that has got nothing to do with what the president has been doing, opening up the broad-based government. And it doesn't have to look like the broad-based government is an initiative that came from the distant corner of Uhuru Kenyatta. The president has been very clear from day one when he was sworn in that he's ready to work with all the leaders. That was a big statement, and he kept repeating it all the time. Challenge of agencies and other things came. So really, for me, where I see a president who called to stabilize the country and
There's something on my mind, I just can't get it right, can't get it right. It doesn't go away, doesn't go away.
Nishukuru enyi waja wangu, Mungu anatoa ahadi. La in shakartum, kama mtanishukuru kwa kichache, kwa kingi, basi nitawazidishieni. Na pia anatuambia wala in kafartum inna adhabi la shadid. Inaitakikana ndugu Muislamu, ndugu mtazamaji, uwe ni mtu ambaye kwamba unamshukuru Allah tabaraka wa taala kwa kile ambacho kwamba Mungu amekupa. Usiwe ni mwenye kulalamika, mbona napoishi kidogo tu. Hapana, shukuru.
Likulli umazatin lumaza alladhi jamaa malahu wa attada.
All my life I know you've been guiding me. You're the one who knows my destiny. I'll be alright, I'm sure that you'll look after me.
My name is Victor Job. I am 11 years. My talent is modeling and karate.
Looking left, starting right.
And when you see me here, then you know it is definitely story time. I have picked through the shelves and found this beautiful book.
Today I'm going to show you guys how to make the yummiest chicken potatoes at the comfort of your home. They have spices, vegetables, and just a perfect combination.
I'm going to teach you how to make a handprint cactus.
Siku zinasonga sambamba na matukio yanavojiri.
Kuyajua hayo mbali na hamasa zilizopo kwengineko, shirika la utangazaji KBC limejitolea kuhakikisha ubora wa matangazo yasiyo na chuku.
Darubini huangazia mengi ya kusini na kaskazini, mashariki na magharibi na kukuwasilishia kwa njia stahiki.
Ufasaha, usawa, uketo, pasipo kuegemea upande wowote.
Iwapo hutakishaka kwa unachoarifiwa, Darubini itakidhi mahitaji yako. Jina langu ni Nancy Onyancha.
Na mimi ni Harith Salim.
Jina langu ni Gladys Mungai.
Mimi ni Ahmed Jumabalo.
Nami ni Sarafina Robi.
KBC, angazo la Wakenya.
Just don't give up. This is not the end. I said it. My husband won't leave this house, and no doctor is going to come here. You're wrong, Melina. You may be his wife, but we are his daughters, and of course we're taking him to a clinic.
What are you doing still standing there? You have got to be there beside Olegario and watch the tests while the doctor does them. If they detect the poison, then you know you'll be in a lot of trouble.
Be honest, and I want you to tell me the truth right now. What did Dad tell Amparo that was so serious that it forced her to marry Reynaldo? Come on, tell me the truth.
Las Bandidas.
There's something on my mind, I just can't get it right, can't get it right. It doesn't go away, doesn't go away.
Nishukuru enyi waja wangu, Mungu anatoa ahadi. La in shakartum, kama mtanishukuru kwa kichache, kwa kingi, basi nitawazidishieni. Na pia anatuambia wala in kafartum inna adhabi la shadid. Inaitakikana ndugu Muislamu, ndugu mtazamaji, uwe ni mtu ambaye kwamba unamshukuru Allah tabaraka wa taala kwa kile ambacho kwamba Mungu amekupa. Usiwe ni mwenye kulalamika, mbona napoishi kidogo tu. Hapana, shukuru.
Likulli umazatin lumaza alladhi jamaa malahu wa attada.
All my life I know you've been guiding me. You're the one who knows my destiny. I'll be alright, I'm sure that you'll look after me.
Siku zinasonga sambamba na matukio yanavojiri.
Kuyajua hayo mbali na hamasa zilizopo kwengineko, shirika la utangazaji KBC limejitolea kuhakikisha ubora wa matangazo yasiyo na chuku.
Darubini huangazia mengi ya kusini na kaskazini, mashariki na magharibi na kukuwasilishia kwa njia stahiki.
Ufasaha, usawa, uketo, pasipo kuegemea upande wowote.
Iwapo hutaki shaka kwa unachoarifiwa, Darubini itakidhi mahitaji yako.
Jina langu ni Nancy Onyancha.
Na mimi ni Harith Salim.
Jina langu ni Gladys Mungai.
Mimi ni Ahmed Jumabalo.
Nami ni Sarafina Robi.
KBC, angazo la Wakenya.
Welcome back to Good Morning Kenya. My name is Mike Meru and you're watching The Viewpoint. And joining us now is Honorable Francis Mwangangi, who is the Deputy Governor of Machakos County. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
Great.
Yes.
Despite the suffering.
What's
Kenya?
Suffering.
Yes.
What do we do about it now? You're in leadership, actually. So what do we do to alleviate the suffering that you're talking about?
First is the issue of devolution. You know, now I'm delocalized. So I can speak matters devolution because I'm at the local level where I'm with the Mwananchi every morning, every time, every minute. So I think we can do better in devolution as a country, which is the only tool that can transform this country. Centralism will never work for any country to transform.
Yes.
It will only work for politically correct regions and persons. But if we were to really deal with the issues affecting this country effectively, and even bring about national cohesion that the head of state is trying to achieve, I think the first way to do that is having a devolution that is working. Not a devolution that we devolve to functions, but money is still at the center.
You've said something about politically correct regions.
Yes.
What does that mean?
What that means is not necessarily the ruling party, but those close to those in decision making. Those regions will benefit because if it is projects allocation, if it is budget, the financing, the decision makers will ensure specific regions, even without them knowing, because you act by what you are seeing. They will end up having some areas more developed than others. And that is the case even as we sit here. We have more regions in this country which are more advanced development-wise than others who still never think they are still part of Kenya. Yes.
Before we went off air, we went for a break. We were talking about the story on the front page of the Standard, that is Uhuru had hand in Ruto Raila cabinet deal, and initially Raila had said the president was the one who sought a deal, who reached out to him. Now yesterday he comes out and says it is former President Uhuru who reached out to him and told him to talk, to engage with the president. Where is the truth in all this, and what do you think of this?
And there is also the third one, that the ODM members negotiated for themselves. So we don't know which one to believe, but if it is true the immediate former head of state did what the Prime Minister said, then I'm seeing three different issues there. One, he could be concerned about the country, despite what was committed to him and his family when he peacefully handed over the power. I'm talking about raiding his farm and taking away his animals. Despite all that, he put the country first, and he wanted a cohesive, a united country. That's why he wanted the demos end, other than collapsing the country where we will collapse all of us all. Secondly, in case he did it, then it will be very difficult to understand the kind of politics the Prime Minister could be playing, because when at the Azimio side, there were two theories. One is the ODM leaders negotiated for themselves, and they reached out to him and he released them. That is one theory. The second one is the president reached out to him. Now, I can't understand that because it is not adding up. And then the third thing, it could be another way of duping Kenyans, where the Prime Minister could have reached out to the president so that he can also secure the African Union Commission chairmanship. There must have some trading. Yes. I get this, and you also get this, and out of it you also do this. But in all that, I'm on record, and I will remain consistent. All this development and happenings in this country, none when Azimio was in the streets, when our youths have gone to the streets, nobody asked for this broad-based government. Nobody. It was not in the agenda. It is the agenda of the political class in this country. If it is a question of attaining national unity, national cohesion, there are principles of democracy, and we need to adhere to that. Those principles of democracy dictate that you win, even if it's 1/4, you have won. You can achieve that within Kenya Kwanza. If it is Azimio that is in power today, they have enough resource persons to fill any position. And the other side that was defeated should accept that and play critical role, because we need a strong opposition, not for the purposes of just criticizing the government, but checking on the excesses of an administration. For those who are gaining from this arrangement, they will always praise. But the objectivity is, don't kill the opposition. Make it stronger, so that even for the president, deputy president, and now the prime cabinet secretary, wherever they sit up there are things that can be unearthed by the opposition that they will not ideally, if there was no opposition, know. So it is very important that we have very strong government and also very strong opposition.
Now, MP for Kibra, that is Mheshimiwa Peter Orero, I want you to respond to this sentiment. And actually, you are in ODM. Was there anything to do with negotiations or a pact between the party, the ODM party, and the government on these appointments?
I think to all of us and to yourself, we all know that as ODM party, there was no negotiation. And that is why we are still recognized as the Azimio in the opposition. And we continue to carry our roles and criticize positively where it is the way we have been doing. As a party, we have not gone to negotiations with the government, the structured negotiations. But we have some of our leadership have been appointed, our people in the leadership in the ODM have been appointed in the government. And as our party leader has said every time that he allowed them to join a broad-based government. And one of the reasons is the party, those who have been leading the ODM party, are credited with certain aspects in governance and management. And they have been given positions within the government to see whether we can have everybody else can be included. The inclusivity aspect that my colleague was saying is enshrined within our constitution should be a guiding factor in any government that comes into existence, whether you win or lose. When you win, you should be able to embrace everybody else, because this is a country that must be taken care of by all Kenyans. But as we speak, we do not have a structured agreement with the ruling Kenya Kwanza government. But we have some of our members who have been appointed in the cabinet within the ruling party.
Yes, I see Honorable Sosian is smiling. But even as you can't respond to that, actually the president seems to be now enjoying support from people.
No, the president was not looking for political support. I don't think that is the urgent intention of the president. The president wants the country to work, and in the new context of Africa and African politics, and where we've practiced Western political styles, it is time we navigate our continent and innovate governance systems and political systems that work. There is completely nothing wrong, even if the cabinet today was made up of the president, Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka, and all of them running the country, even after elections, with the outcome the way it is. There's nothing wrong, because we are all Kenyans. And underscored what the president stated and what he has done over time, so that this action of forming broad-based government is not something that was conceived instantly, and it is not something that happens by miracles. And I want to ask Mwangangi, ukiona vielea vimeundwa, things don't happen by accident, it happens deliberately. And when you look at ODM, the two deputy party leaders are in government. That is Joho and Oparanya are in cabinet, and the leader of minority, do you know the leader of minority in the National Assembly is in the cabinet, running a serious docket of energy, and the chair of ODM himself is the cabinet secretary for Treasury. Those are not simple undertakings, and the party leader himself of ODM is being sponsored to AU. Those are serious undertakings. Those are not child plays. Those are not simple things where you wake up and you invite and say, hey, Raila Odinga, I'm inviting you to sponsor you to AU. Those are serious undertakings that all of us must see. And I think we should open up to contexts where after elections we can organize governance system in an inclusive manner and in a productive manner for the good of the country, and move on. And when Kenya is fronting Raila Odinga as president of AU Commission, it is not just for window dressing or to reward Raila Odinga. It is to transform Africa. We must transform the political ecosystem of Africa, and we must not necessarily practice political fashions of other jurisdictions or civilization like the global north or the US. Let us have African contexts of democracies where it works. If it is possible to have political differences and still find a structured way of running government for the good of the country, and if it works, then it's right. That's what Professor Mark Fazon said. If it works, then it's right. And it is true. There is no coalition agreement between Kenya Kwanza and ODM that is signed. But there are negotiations, there are engagements that are serious and which all of us respect, and it is working. Today, if I walk to Treasury, I'll go and greet my former party chairman, John Badi, as the Minister for Finance.
You don't forget he was our member of ODM. And inside him, his blood runs ODM.
I also don't want you to forget that Even the president was a member of ODM and was an MP of ODM in 07. All of us have worked together. We have a history. And I can dare say I've hosted Raila Odinga in my house several times. I've hosted Kalonzo Musyoka in my local school. So in Kenya, we have history of connection. So when you talk of the political leadership in this country, they also have their own relationship. But then the issue here is that what can we do as a matter of urgency to stabilize the political equilibrium in this country so that we can create an ecosystem of revolutionary transformation of the economy of this country and eliminate and kick poverty out of Kenya? How are we going to bring corruption to an end? How are we going to strengthen good governance? And how are we going to bring in inclusivity? He has talked about devolution, and the audit of devolution is a deputy governor and governors. And if we were to do an audit of devolved funds through counties and devolved funds through CDF money seems to do more work than the funds that goes to county government. So that really, if we are to do even an audit, is it really working? The question, is it really working? But that does not mean, I'm not saying we should not send money to devolved units. We should, but we should make our systems work. Right. It is time we make Kenya work. It is time we have an economy that works. And it is time we have we have inclusivity.
You know, when you leave my colleague, he's a unionist. He can talk for 4 hours non-stop and in a structured manner. So
7 hours. I used to do 7 hours.
I wanted to ask a question to the DG. This dalliance with the government and ODM has, even though the president is saying where we are talking about matters national unity, there is still a faction of leaders from the mountain who feel that they are losing out. Does it seem so?
Before I go there,
yes.
If it were not for the opposition, yeah, Kenyans today will not have known the late what do you call this? Not the late. The Kenyans will not know of the major scandals that took place at different times under different presidents. You know, J.M. Kariuki, death. The way the government was handling that thing, were it not for the opposition within the parliament,
you know, maybe Kenyans young, he might not be knowing.
No, that is history. Even myself.
Even that was 76.
I was not even born then, but I read history.
Yeah, okay.
History tells me, were it not for members of parliament who acted swiftly, Kenyans will not have known J.M. Kariuki was assassinated and dumped somewhere. Were it not for the opposition, Kenyans will not have known about Goldenberg scandal. Were it not for the opposition, Kenyans will not have known much about Anglo-leasing. So what I differ with the Honorable Sosioni is the fact that we are talking of coercion as though you must bring in or you must kill the opposition for you to achieve national cohesion, national unity, national development. That's not true. In any case, the opposite is right. So coming to your question of Mount Kenya and the current dalliance, obviously it is going to now strengthen the leadership of that region and under the leadership of the deputy president. There is no region, don't be lied to anybody. There is no region that has no leader. Even in our homes, when dad is not there, mom is there, and the chain continues.
Yes.
So in this case, that being the high-ranking officer from that region, It will make now matters easy for him, actually. Even those who are opposing him will now be seen like turning down and coming back. Now, I think the issue of ODM working with UDA, it can also testify what has been happening in the politics of this country. The party or coalition that wins the election at a particular election period is not the same one which goes to the next election. So maybe this is now future politics information. Because I would say, and the two government leaders will disagree with me, but it is a very big betrayal of almost over 100 youths who have been killed, many who have shed their blood, many who are still in hospital, in ICU. And then you bring something that nobody demanded for. Now, and then you want to make Kenyans believe, no, that was the problem. Now Kenya is, I think we need to be serious. And as a person who interacts with the youths at the grassroots level, I think we need to address the real issues. And the real issues is the transformation of and the rearrangement of our economy so that it can address the needs of an unemployed population, because that is a threat in itself. Remember, yesterday at night, we ended almost 2 weeks long engagement led by our governor, where we went to almost every area trying to hear and listen, engage our youth to see, why are you going to the streets? What do you think we can do? This is a population that truly understands what needs to be done in this country. But now with this arrangement, I think it is just another confusion. But I comment, you know, President, when he was deputy president, he is on record opposing Raila working with Uhuru. But now the same Raila is also is now in the and immediately they came to power. You remember Deputy President say, "Nimeweka mtego kila mahali, Uhuru," you know. And now you can see how things are. That is not to say people or leaders should not change their mind. But my feeling is, before we went to this arrangement of broad-based government, I wish we could have addressed the issues touching on unemployed population in this country, which will transform. And I think the concept of the late president, the third president of the Republic of Kenya, will save this country greatly. Yes.
You know, I'm so amused because in the social media, people now write that there is another fourth arm of the government. But I'm just quoting from social media that the fourth arm of the government is Raila Amolo Odinga. When you are through the judiciary and the National Assembly, from what he's saying, that he criticizes Raila working with Uhuru Kenyatta, and now they are working together. And you know, he also worked with Kibaki, and incidentally worked with Moi. So it means that in any government that forms, I think he is very transformative in his mind. He is a politician that can change with the time and with the demands of the society. He is a real Democrat and practices democracy in its true sense, and accepts the outcome in a very noble way, and puts the interests of this country first. So when he metaphorizes, when he thinks of this country, he always remembers that we have a country to support, despite all the political undoings. You remember after the election, you know, people do not remember that immediately after the election, we had a lot of demonstrations against the outcome of the election and against about the interests of this country, the employment, the rising food prices, which resulted into the formation of the NADCO. And we had people who died during those demonstrations. They were not 40. They were over 75 youths. People forget very fast. People think that it is only the Gen Zs who started. No. They came after we had also carried out demonstrations. They supported and picked from where we left. But I'm saying that everything must be done with the purpose. And when the president formed a broad-based government, it was for, I think it is for the interest of this country that we need to move. I don't blame him for doing that. As a president, you must see what will make you lead the country. Before you take that seat, you might think it is very, very easy to run a country. But the moment you are there, you need to look at the critical arms that you need to touch to help you govern a country. The youth bulge in this country is a menace. We need to really think critically how we are going to support our youths, how we are going to create for them employment, how we are going to sustain the increase in our... If we are not going to deal with the youths, even if we have a broad-based government, then we are not going to succeed. What the Gen Zs brought make a lot of sense. They are looking at critical issues. They do not suggest that particular person should be in leadership, but they are saying that we must have a free, we must not have corruption within the country. We must have people with integrity. We must look at those issues regardless of who is in the leadership. They must address those critical issues that the Gen Zs are raising. That is when we are going to have a government that is responsive and that is going to fulfill its promises, the economic transformation that they have been talking about. And therefore, as we are here and we have appointments of people from opposition, and my friend, that does not stop us from criticizing the government. I'm still in the opposition, and at any single moment, I will always criticize because I'm still in the opposition. From where I sit, nobody has stopped me from criticizing. I'm a real critical of the government. We will criticize when it matters, and we have positive criticism when it matters. So we are not saying that we are killing the opposition. It is even creating for us, some of us, we have, the movement of our leadership has created room for some of us also to be seen as leaders. We are filling those places very, very effectively. So, and each of one was elected as a representative of a given area. And therefore, we are all equal in terms of priorities within our government system. So I don't think that the opposition has been killed because as ODM, we now have a new leader of minority. We now have a new whip. We have filled all those positions. We now have 3 new deputy party leaders. So in politics, we must always move. We must be transformative, and we must respond to the issues as they come to us. Yes.
Mheshimiwa Sosion, as you respond to that, in all these aspects of a broad-based government and inclusion of the opposition in the government, where does that leave the deputy president?
First of all, the philosophy of broad-based government has not been understood by those who are still living in the past, the culture of opposition and government. The Constitution of Kenya 2010 does not envisage an opposition and a government. It envisages majority party in the House and a minority party. It can even happen today that ODM, because it can enjoy majority membership in the National Assembly, is a majority party in the National Assembly. But it does not produce the president.
Yeah.
That is how it is. So Parliament is independent. It is running on a philosophy of an edict of majoritarian membership that you win in an election. And it has no correlation whatsoever with who becomes the president and the party that produces a president. So this is a different dispensation. And the philosophy of opposition and government was with the British system, which was eliminated by the new constitution. But remember, what the president, system. Yes, parliamentary system. What the president did at the beginning of his term was to write to Parliament and recommended establishment of a proper office of the official opposition. That is, we get back the parliamentary system. And the president said, we want an effective opposition that can check government. And if you check the speeches and the statements of Raila Odinga, it's not about praising government on a daily basis. It's about pointing out key issues in government, which I think it is. There is nothing wrong with us collaborating on this table. And I know you Mwangangi, you are running government. I am in the opposition. Yes, we collaborate. I support. We make the country work. But still, I'll be able to point out what works and what does not work. I think these are things that, these are development, political development and evolution that we really need to embrace. Kenya is a serious democracy, and we cannot kill the democratic gains that we've made over time. And so this broad-based government brings everybody on board. And you've asked, where does that leave the deputy president? The deputy president remains the deputy president, period. And is performing his duties. He's not affected at all. He's the principal assistant of the president. And as far as I know, and I know you'll ask me further, where does that leave the mountain?
Exactly.
The mountain is not threatened. The mountain is not threatened.
But some quarters feel that...
Just listen. You see, this winner-take-it-all philosophy that then when we are Azimio and we win government, we take all the positions in government. Where do you put the rest of the people? When we are Kenya Kwanza and when we win government, we take all the positions. Where do you put the rest of Kenyans? We must accept that this is a country built by all the citizens through their own taxes, and therefore what the president has demonstrated is that it is possible to have all regions and all communities playing critical role and being in government the way the Constitution of Kenya 2010 outlines without threatening anybody's interest. So somebody can say, oh, the coming in of ODM and Raila Odinga is threatening the interests of the mountain. No, it is not. And in fact, their slots, their positions in government, yes, they are unaffected, and yes, they are okay, and their programs are being undertaken. And you saw the president right, after forming the broad-based government, he was in Meru region. After Meru region, he was in Mombasa, several places in Mombasa. After Mombasa, he was in Embu. After Embu, he was in Muranga. After Muranga, he was in Nyeri.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in a bit.
The most important thing when you are leading people, you mobilize, organize, inform, and make your programs clear. That's
all right, let's go for a break. Let's go for a break. We will be right back and talk more on that point. Don't go too far. Good Morning Kenya continues shortly.
There's something on my mind, I just can't get it right, can't get it right. It doesn't go away, doesn't go away.
Nishukuru enyi waja wangu, Mungu anatoa ahadi. La in shakartum, kama mtanishukuru kwa kichache, kwa kingi, basi nitawazidishieni. Na pia anatuambia wala in kafartum inna adhabi la shadid. Inaitakikana ndugu Muislamu, ndugu mtazamaji, uwe ni mtu ambaye kwamba unamshukuru Allah tabaraka wa taala kwa kile ambacho kwamba Mungu amekupa. Usiwe ni mwenye kulalamika, mbona napoishi kidogo tu. Hapana, shukuru.
Likulli humazatin lumazah alladhi jamaa malahu wa adtada.
All my life, I know you've been guiding me. You're the one who knows my destiny. I'll be alright. I'm sure that you look after me.
My name is Victor Job. I am 11 years. My talent is modeling and karate.
Looking left, starting right.
And when you see me here, then you know it is definitely story time. I have picked through the shelves and found this beautiful book.
Today I'm going to show you guys how to make the yummiest chicken potatoes at the comfort of your home. They have spices, vegetables, and just a perfect combination. I'm going to teach you how to make a handprint cactus.
The Viewpoint continues now, and Mheshimiwa Session, when you are talking, you touched about the tours that the president is making, and also you made a point about effective opposition, and I have a question for you right now. Do you think we have an effective opposition?
Before I answer that one of the effective opposition, let me answer about the president's tour to the people. The principle of governance in our constitution, Article 10, is public participation. You cannot, and public participation take different formats, others structured, others unstructured. Things like public rallies, where leaders explain development agenda to the people. Those are serious forums, and that is the highest level of public participation, where people are receiving information, communication from their leadership. We are not in offices to sit in our armchairs. And so what the president is doing, by example, is mobilizing and organizing the public around their developmental agenda, yes, and giving them an opportunity to understand what the government is doing. Because when the president visited Meru, he was addressing matters of development of the Meru people and the Meru region. The same case Mombasa, the same case Embu, Murang'a, Kirinyaga, and Kisii, and you can see has been in Kisii for 3 days. It is well planned, well executed, and that is meant to organize and mobilize people around their issues. So Article 10 of the Constitution provides that, and in the leadership should be able to do that. You've had Mwangangi yesterday. They have been out meeting the people. In a democracy like this one, where you must be accountable, then you must move along with the people all the time. And I don't think the president is going to rest. He has set an example. That is his style of leadership. And I think it's a proper leadership where you must account. You can't neglect people after voting. You must visit them, see what they're doing. You've seen the president switching on electricity in modest houses in the last mile connectivity project. And those are key milestones of elevating the status of the households in Kenya, because we must move this country to be a middle income country. That is one. The other question was on
effective opposition.
Effective opposition. The opposition has not been stopped from working, as far as I know. And I think, and the president has made it very clear. He has said, I have not signed a coalition. Because the moment the president and the leader of ODM or Azimio, if they were to sign a coalition agreement with coalition framework, then it meant it was the death of the minority party in parliament. So they've been left to play their role. Nobody has stopped Orero. I don't think Orero has been told by the party leader that you stop doing a work in parliament. No, They are free to do their work. There is a new minority leader, Junaid Mohammed, and the new whip. And
the bad girl.
The bad girl. and they're doing their work. Millie, yes. Even within the Kenya Kwanza administration,
yes,
and the UDA party, the president has not stopped members of parliament of UDA from executing their role of oversight. The president has not stopped. So if parliament is able to summon a minister or a CS for grilling, and that has been provided for. And in fact, the president went very far to have the standing orders, propose amendment of the standing orders, so that ministers can answer questions in parliament. And that is accounting. What is it that we fear with questioning people in government? And the president has said, these are the ministers I've appointed people in government. Can you put them to task? Let them account for what they are doing. And no member of parliament of the 349 has been stopped from performing their three roles. Legislation, they can originate bills, representation, and oversight. And the president was even very strong on urging members of parliament not to enslave themselves in their constituencies, but move around the country, interact, so that you can internalize the general grievances of the people of Kenya, so that then you're oversighting with full understanding. I expect Orero to visit me one of these days.
Let me bring the DG on this. Let me bring the DG on this. The president's tours, the tours that he is making around the country from a political standpoint, and given what has happened in the last 2 months or so, is it a case of trying to win the public confidence again?
That answer is affirmative, yes. And you have allowed Honorable Sosioni to mislead and misinform for a long time. And since since we have government here represented by two very strong men, if you give them 2 minutes, if you give them 2 minutes, if you give them 2 minutes each, please give me 4, because I must deal with the misinformation.
Okay,
first and foremost.
Okay, and leading a vibrant opposition area.
Well, first and foremost, the issue of leading opposition is a technical misnomer, according to me, for ODM and their leader to be in the government and at the same time control what is happening within the opposition space. It is as simple as that. The one to lose is Kenyan people, because you cannot unearth what this hand is doing, yet this other one is supposed to supervise this one, and they are two hands belonging to the same body. Already ODM has gone in bed with government. Let them quit opposition and fully join the government, because they are already there. And they have traded.
The party leader for ODM is saying they have joined the government as individuals, not as a party.
That is a misconception, and he has also said a technical misnomer. No,
you see,
we have not relinquished
just a minute.
Our work as opposition.
You are next, Mweshmua. You are next.
You respond to that.
We are allowed to interject where he's giving false information.
Let him finish, then I'll come back to you.
So, yes, in parliament we used to say point of order. Yes. He has not said so, so let him relax.
Yes.
So ODM, technically, where the deal was reached, I campaigned for you to become African Union Commission chair, and you and your party, either you sell it to me, or you give it to me, or you bring your vibrant members to me. Nobody knows which deal was agreed upon. So in this case, those who are losing are Kenyan people. And let me tell you, it is a big betrayal of ODM. And chances are high, wait and see, Kenyans will deal with it in the next election. Now, the second point. Orelo, we are in a civilized democracy. Relax. The second point is what Honorable Sosioni has said, that in democracies, we need to work together this issue of winner takes it all. That is not true. That's not true. Why? Every constituency, 290 of them, they have CDF. Before President Kibaki left, there was monies for electricity. Before President Kibaki left, there was a women fund at the constituency level. There was youth fund at the constituency level. Still there is devolution currently. So Kenyans should not be duped to tend to think the only way to unite the country is to kill the opposition. We work together and then all is well. That is not true. We need to hear. You know, unlike what my colleagues are saying, opposition is supposed to be there. If you bring policy A about taxes, then the opposition is supposed to bring policy B, challenge the one which has been introduced by the government, and let Kenyans decide. It is not necessarily going to the streets against the sitting government. Another point, and that is why I've called it a misnomer, is because Mheshimiwa Orelo has said their leader worked with Moi, worked with Kibaki, worked with Uhuru, and now is working with, but he has not stated at every level before he went into that government how many Kenyans lost their lives and property. These are some of the things we need to, if we are talking about the positive, also let us remind Kenyans of what happened. Blood was shed, property was lost before that specific arrangement. We cannot continue like that in a democratic society. So, I think going forward, still my point stands that we need a very strong opposition and we need a government that is executing our mandate.
Do you think we have a strong opposition in parliament?
Now, about the rallies and the president's meeting Kenyans, that is okay. I've got no problem with that. But Kenyans, today, I will say this. President Kibaki never did all these kind of things, moving everywhere, campaigning on top of, yet is the most celebrated president who transformed this country. Why? The president is supposed to sit with his advisors, with the cabinet, with anybody he feels can aid in transformation of the country, to add on what he knows and what he promised. When you get out there, I can tell you the result of the president's tours is launching of projects that will never end until he serves his second term. And even he will serve his second term without completing some of those projects. And I can mention some of them, which we did as a member of parliament and we did across this country. That, with that kind of the same arrangement. Launching here, flying here, doing this, doing that. You know, at the end of the day, we need to transform this country. And to transform it is objectively sit down, look at one policy after the other. We see this one will go this way. We weigh the merits and demerits of the same. Then we prosecute, knowing we are going to start here, move here, and end there. So in this case, those tours, one will argue they will bring national cohesion. We will explain government agenda. But we are forgetting we have government officials at the very local level who we can use structures to ensure the government agenda is explained to the masses, while we continue planning and executing more. That is what we need. But when you don't trust the people who are at the very lower level and you must come, then there is a challenge. Another point, and this is my last point on those tours. Whenever the head of state moves, there is a consumption and an expenditure. That bit when we are explaining that development, we need also to explain how much it is costing taxpayers. So in this case, I have a feeling that we let's not look at the positive bit of what sweets at, but also explain to Kenyans the costs and the expenses of all these tours. Thank you.
I think there are a few case areas that we concur with my friend, but there are areas that we are extremely at variance within in terms of political ideology. He is raising some fundamental issues with our party leader, Raila, that he has worked with the government. I think we all know that in this, the history has it that since 2007 elections, it is believed, and I also believe that Raila has been winning these elections, and the IBC has been denying him his legal right to lead this country. That is what I believe. And because of this, the masses that are always behind our party leader are the ones who always revolve about the government elected. And even if the lives have been lost, it is not because of working of those lives were lost when people were demanding their rights that they had been denied by the Independent Electoral and Boundary Commission. And in any democratic change, any democratic advancement, there are always sacrifices that people make. And don't think that our party leader has not made sacrifices about the democratic gains that we have had in this country. He is one person that has made sacrifice almost more than anybody else in this country about a democratic change. And it does not mean that when he decides to work with the government in one way or the other, he is still being a transformative Democrat. He wants this country to move forward. And that does not mean that he leaves his character of being an opposition person in this country. So I just wanted to correct that losing lives does not mean that our party leader has lost the direction of being an opposition person. No, he's a chief opposition person, especially when his votes are normally stolen in broad daylight, and people believe that he has always been winning this
But he has challenged the elections in court, and courts have...
Of course, you know the court process in this country, that normally the ruling class always invades the court precincts, and they never give okay, it's not within my jurisdiction to judge or to give judgments, but we have seen that our courts do not give what is due to Caesar. We are also saying that really he has also challenged that the people will deal with us as opposition in the next elections. I can assure you, my friend, it is about us with the people. When you talk about the people dealing with us, and we are the ones championing the opposition in this country, we are not in concurrence. We believe that as a political party, as ODM political party, and as Azimio, we still play our effective role as opposition within parliament. Yes. And this has not been curtailed by any movement or any operation that has been done within this system. So we as opposition, we are going to continue with our work as the opposition within the parliament. And nobody will refuse us from carrying out our duties as opposition. What we are trying to say is that if the president has seen that we have some characters who can help him and can help this country to bring order in terms of management, and he has invited those people in his government, we have no business with those people. As ODM, we have not had structured dealing with the Kenya Kwanza government. We have not had structured negotiations with the Kenya Kwanza government. It is within the presence and the jurisdiction of the leader of the Kenya Kwanza government to invite anybody in this country to work with him. And that is our position. Yes.
Mheshimiwa Sosion, the DG reads something about dealing with the real issues. And something that comes up here about this broad-based government. Are we
You say the who?
The DG.
Or the DG?
Yes.
Yeah.
He said something about
dealing
issues.
Real issues will be dealt with through, yes?
Dealing with the real issues. Now, and then this aspect of broad-based government, is this going to deal or to achieve the transformation that was promised?
When the president spoke in unveiling the broad-based government, said, I'm unveiling this broad-based government to help me to deliver on my agenda. My agenda. The president has an agenda. He sold it to the people of Kenya during elections. And the people of Kenya audited the president's agenda, approved it, and voted. And there are very key pillars: transforming agriculture, micro, small, medium enterprise, digital superhighway revolution, affordable housing, universal health coverage for all houses, creative economy, and very many others. And those are the main key deliverables that the president has to grapple about, so that when he will be seeking his re-election, he will have a report card on indicators on how to do it. And he said, I am forming this broad-based government so that we can all do it together so that this agenda can be delivered. The agenda is not for personal benefit of the president. It is for the benefit of the people of Kenya. And then those are then the real issues that that my brother Mangangi is talking about. And if he needs an expanded human resource and personnel to drive the agenda, and he sees Orero as being the right person, there's nothing wrong. And this is not the first time it is happening. Uhuru Kenyatta one time invited John Gaiseri, who was a member of ODM, an MP Kajiado Central, to be the Minister for Internal Security in the Jubilee administration. So these are not new things. And I think in Kenya that is an indication and mark of tolerance. Because why do we promote animosity that then, since you are in the opposition, therefore you are bad, you cannot have space in government? That's wrong. And that brings me now to the discussion of the person of Raila Amolo Odinga and what he has been able to engage with different governments and the kind of engagement he's having with the current government. Raila Odinga, for your information, got 49%, over 49% of the votes in the presidential election. William Ruto, 50 point something. That is almost 50-50. You can't ignore a leader with such a strong support base, and you ignore those people as if they are not Kenyans. They are not outsiders. They are people of Kenya. And therefore, engaging them is more constructive, because how do you achieve unity if you don't close ranks and bring people together? And the president said from day one, I'll engage all leaders, elected and not non-elected. And he wrote to Parliament for creation of the office of the official opposition, so that then in future elections, runner-up and the rest will have offices and they will participate in the building of government. Now, the person of Raila Odinga he has outgrown Kenya in terms of his history and operations and whatnot. And we are all in this room, all of us. We could be around 10 or 15. We cannot all fight for that one seat. It cannot accommodate all of us. We can all have different seats and still do the same things. That brings in, that promotes the welfare of this room that all of us are in. Raila Amolo Odinga, with the slot of the AU chair. The AU Commission chair is like the president of the continent of Africa. And I don't know how long it will take some members of Azimio to read it. You are still sleeping and slumbering and living in the past. And we've said, let us expand this space. and expand the horizon. Well, what do we lose as Kenyans if we support Raila Odinga with these credentials to be the president of the continent of Africa? And he will be dealing with the transformation of the continent, both in terms of economic, because we are promoting what we call Africa Continental Free Trade Area. We want to abolish visas and to be a borderless country and allow movement of goods, strengthen infrastructure, consolidate African unity. Those are facts. I'm discussing.
Give him to
urgent continental matters. But here we want to promote village fights like children. I think Kenya has outgrown that.
Therefore, comment that
the political chapter
is boiling.
The political chapter that we have opened, some people cannot read and cannot understand. It is like calculus in mathematics. So Mwangangi, we should at one nyuma attend, then we can do some teaching.
You see, these members of government, they are trying to retract. You know, members of government.
In fact, he talks to the government more than me.
Okay, let him respond. Let him respond.
Now,
nothing wrong.
Now, one, Kenyans have been duped by Kenya Kwanza. First, immediately you have gotten hold of the key opposition party leadership. It means now they are getting hold of the opposition and the government at the same time. You are expecting disaster going forward, and you wait and see. Number two, when I talked about betrayal of ODM to Kenyans, and particularly the youth in this country, I meant even look at the individuals that have since been given these cabinet positions. Where is the population that was affected most by these demos? Who represents them in that? Who articulates the agenda of this particular generation at the cabinet level? Which is the top policy-making organ of this country? Number three, Honorable Sosioni should tell the viewers worldwide through this forum, where else this president of African continent as what the previous ones who have been there, the most effective, what is this they have done in the single one, what they have done for this continent? Period, zero. They cannot do anything. It is a big position which is consuming, which will make one move from one country to another, taking tea, mandazi, and we needed somebody. Obviously, Raila fits that bill, because first is an elder. Two is somebody who has been in public policy for a long time. He understands the politics, the global politics, continental politics, and he understands Africa. He has been a champion to that. I have no problem with Raila occupying that so big, according to Sosioni, a very big president of Africa. I've got no problem. My problem is we have a generation here that shed blood for the reforms in this country. Yet, when it comes to political class sharing what they have in their hands, they just share within their class, their old class up there, the men of billions. And when you look, some of them are I wish Mheshimiwa Orelo, and he sounds a very clever leader, very wise. I don't know why they have missed this point. Instead of going for grandparents, they should have gone for their grandsons and be given some of these positions. That is what we are saying. It is not like I don't understand the geopolitics in this region. That is not true. So I think going forward, ODM has betrayed Kenyans completely, and I'm blaming the leadership of ODM, because the people, even during Azimio demos, the people who were killed most, who got injured most, are our youths, this Generation Z. But then, when it comes to some of these policy making, we shelve them. So far, Almost 2 years are over since the last election was done. Which particular policy, national policy, that targets youth in this country? Zero.
I think is missing point. One is the deputy, His Excellency, the deputy governor. I would wish that he tells the composition of their employees within that county, if it is a reflective of the youth. That is where we start from.
Yes.
And two, you can never come to a national television and say that ODM has betrayed Kenyans. I think it is Kenyans who have betrayed ODM. He's talking about demonstrations, who died there. I was part of those who were leading demonstrations. I never saw him during the demonstration.
Obviously, I did not come to Kibera.
So, we are in Azimio. I was in his own town.
They've relied on ODM to do their bidding.
I was in his own home turf during the demonstrations with Wavinya Ndeti during that time. And some of the people never came out to support our party and
his
policy.
own people.
So, and we did that for more than 4 months, 5 months. So we cannot come to this live television and say that ODM, no, it is Kenyans who betrayed the Azimio and ODM. It is vice versa. And when we become pragmatic in our dealings now, and democracy, it must evolve. It can never be stagnant. It is one step after the other. It is about the mind stake that you have in a democracy. And we must always have a change in democracy. If you cannot evolve with the time and see what is best for the people of this country, and at this particular time, we were at a threshold where our country was going to go to dogs. That is when it calls for leadership. Leadership is when you make the right decision during a crisis. And this is where we always give credit to our party leader. He is always able to make a critical decision in time of need. And I believe that ODM as a political party, we are social democrats. We practice social democracy. And we always look at the benefits that the Kenyan people can have in terms of delivering on our ideologies. And we must always be pragmatic and transformative in ideas.
Yes.
And that is what we believe in.
Okay. You want to respond to that?
Yes, I just want to open up and expand the conversation beyond and tell Mwangangi here, we cannot belittle the influence of Kenya in the continent. Kenya has influenced the continent in many ways. If you look at athletics, we are #1 in the continent. If you looked at education, we have always been, in global competitive index, we have always been #1. At some point, I was the president of EI Africa, all teachers in Africa, and I was able to engage various governments in Africa. So you can't ignore this position. If you look at Kenya Vision 2030, it talks about Kenya producing the most competitive human resource. And that human resource, we cannot contain them within the country. The continent must open up for business. If you look at Rwanda, for example, most of the public civil service, it is run by Kenyans. And we want to open borders in the continent so that Kenyans can go and do business in DR, can do business in Sudan, can do business in Nigeria, and Nigerians can come to Kenya, can do business in South Africa, and we can get jobs everywhere, and we run the economic model and political model of Africa the way it's done in Europe, like EU. You fly around Europe very cheaply, and in a very short time, and in a very effective manner. And you can see the Francophone countries in West Africa, the youth taking over and pushing out the former colonialists, the French. There are more benefits within the spirit of Pan-Africanism, of consolidating the continent so that we can maximize on our economic opportunities. And instead of closing ourselves within one corner and boiling in poverty, we can kick out this poverty by removing barriers and boundaries and allowing interaction within the continent. Raila Odinga is not a new face in Africa. He has been the high representative of infrastructure in the continent. And when you talk about the standard gauge railway, this standard gauge railway must connect all the way to Lagos and everywhere, so that then during school holidays, teachers like Orera and the rest can go and take holiday in DR Congo forest with ease and come back. And we must make Africa an easy home for Africa and revolutionize the economy in Africa. The president has been talking about our own minerals within the continent. We should be able to process and add value to our own minerals and raw materials so that we are an economy that competes with other continents and other economies. Those are the big visions. And you cannot lead Kenya without looking at the big opportunity of the entire continent. So I think we should now outgrow this cheap, myopic, primitive, village politics of the past that does not help. Let Kenyans work together. There is nothing wrong if Raila Odinga, as the leader of Azimio, can take tea with the president every day and reflect on how the country moves on. There is nothing wrong with that. Right. This is our country, this is our motherland. Let's think differently, let's work differently. What is important at the end of the day, as Professor Macpherson said, if it works, then it is right. If all these methods are going to eliminate poverty and make Kenyans live better and make Africans better, so be it.
All right.
He has talked for almost 5 minutes and I don't get his point. Because nobody here is opposed about Raila being what he wants to be.
For the interest of time, I want to start with you. Give your closing remarks. Your closing remarks.
My closing remarks. I urge our colleagues, you know, in ODM, in Azimio, which is ODM, please, there is no harm. If it is join, please join fully. And let there not be one leg in the government, another one out here. You want to control the minority, you want to control the majority. I think that is not proper. Because at the end of the day, where the decision of 4 was meant, and where the decision of African Union Commission was meant, I think the same can be meant to compromise on what Kenyans are getting because of the majority of the one coalition and this particular party. Number 2, Kenya, and as somebody said, I agree totally. As a scholar within the global affairs, I think I've traversed within the region academically and doing a lot of research. And I will tell you for free, the economy of Great Lakes and within this region of East Africa is largely driven by Kenyans. Professionals who are doing great jobs. I've got no problem with that. Interconnecting Africa is good. Making Africa better in terms of governance, democracy is perfect. But we start with Kenya. How is Machakos connecting with Kiambu? How is the country connecting within the metropolitan? Charity begins at home.
Yes, through broad-based method.
Not through, don't bring something, don't sneaking. No, don't sneaking something that Kenyans did not ask. Even we don't know the source of that broad-based government. Okay. So in this case, as much as we are focusing on the Africa, we need also to focus internally. Okay. And my parting shot, the very last one, is now the new partner in the government, ODM, should champion devolution in this country without breaking any law. Kenya Kwanza has systematically denied counties resources. Truth be said, Mheshimiwa here has allocated more funds to the departments that ideally are supposed to be executed and implemented by the counties, because those functions, the constitution took them to counties. Okay. But the national government has remained with the money. They are executing literally everything that is done is supposed to be done by county legally. Okay. And the resources are here in Nairobi. So please let us champion implementation. And I'm not saying so because I'm a deputy governor under devolution. That is not the issue. The issue, I've done a lot of research on the development of this country and the transformation of the same.
Right.
And devolution is the key way if it is well resourced.
All right.
Thank you.
Mheshimiwa
I must, before I leave, I must always thank my constituents.
Yes.
The Kibra people, the great Kibra people, yes, who champion democracy in this country.
Okay.
Two, I must also urge the broad-based government to consider the sentiments of Gen Zs so that we have a stable country. They consider what the youths would want in this country, what the Kenyans would want in this country, and we move the country. But I also now take this opportunity. I have not talked about my party leader as the chair, as the intended chair of the AAUC. I want to say that he is the most qualified to be the chair. He has championed the rights not only of Kenyans, but the rights of Africa. He is a Pan-Africanist.
Yeah.
And I heard him the last time that we need to de-dollarize the continent.
Yes.
We need to champion our own currency.
Yeah.
And this is some of the development that we require in Africa. I want to thank you as KBC for inviting us here. With my colleague, him is a trade unionist. Yes. Don't give him more time. He can talk for 7 hours.
2 seconds, appear closing remarks.
Thank
you. My closing remarks, I think, contrary to the beliefs that the Gen Zs are not being addressed, the president's agenda largely is on job creation, re-engineering the economy, triggering the production sector, manufacturing, value addition, housing, ICT, because many youth will be on digital jobs, the State Department of the Diaspora to create jobs externally, and I think the big hallmark, if you look at the key pillars of development of the plan of Kenya Kwanza, is to create jobs for Kenyans and for the youth. Yes. So, and the president has made it very clear that his allies in the next dispensation are the Gen Zs, because the country belongs to the youth. Okay. No country engages in any development that does not focus in resolving unemployment and giving the young Kenyan jobs. The president has been very emphatic about it, and I think all should understand. And I want to urge the Gen Zs, young Kenyans, those who are in school, the country must be transformed so that when you get to the employment age, you will meet with your jobs either locally or internationally. Right. So we want to develop a seamless country that guarantees jobs and quality living to every citizen. That is the agenda of the president.
Thank you. Mike,
thank you.
Just one comment.
1 second, please.
Yes. I ask the government, the two leaders,
yes,
please, as a government, you cannot talk of creating jobs and wealth for the country and jobs for the Gen Zs when you are skyrocketing the issue of taxation. Because many organizations cannot set up, others are running away.
I think that is a conversation for
another day. As we depart, I think to take on that. Number two, we wish well our former leader in Azimio, in the African Union. Best of luck to him. We pray for him.
Thank you. That is Honorable Francis Mwangangi, who is the Deputy Governor of Machakos County, Honorable Peter Orero, who is the MP for Kibra, and also Honorable Wilson Sosion, former nominated MP, joining us here on The Viewpoint, talking about matters politics and what is happening in the country. And former Secretary. All right, this is where we cover matters, The Viewpoint. My name is Mike Migwi. Don't go too far. Vivian Ndego is coming back with more. Stay with us. Good morning.
Safaricom, proud sponsor of Team Kenya at the Olympics.
What a run! What a finish! It's the last athletics gold! It couldn't be this dramatic, could it? Bronze in the 5,000, bronze in the 10,000. She said she was going to do the Zatopek. Nobody believed it was possible. And she's pulling away from the world record holder. This is a performance that will never be forgotten. Sifan Hassan, in her own inimitable style, does something incredible. 2 bronze medals on the track, but it's all gold on the road. Brilliant from Hassan. The world record holder is stunned in silver, and Helena Beery follows up 2 silvers on the track with a bronze in the marathon. Lokedi is 4th.
Safaricom, proud sponsor of Team Kenya at the Olympics.
Are you a talented artist? Or are you passionate about a topic you want to discuss? But money can be very hard to find for an upcoming artist. Don't worry, Studio Mashinani has got your back. Sign up on ajira.co.ke to book a session with your music and video producers across the country. Work on your music, jingles, spoken words, and even podcasts to realize your dream. All for free. Studio Mashinani, Radani Talent.
Neither are you my woman. Sawa sawa.
Yes, Jude umesikia? You are not his mother or his woman, so keep on.
Ati men are supposed to be the head of the family, please. Whoever said that should be hand arrested or even killed.
Chaba.
If these are the leaders of tomorrow, then we actually do.
Hey, come on. This can't be our routine. I have to tell you something.
Fine, you can tell me when you're seated.
Kinanjui, what have you done?
She's here. Can you help out here?
Ni aje mam, umeupdate token meter yetu?
Ai, kuupdate token meter yetu? Hiyo ni nini?
Acha nikuchanue mam. Leta simu yako. So, kuna hii text tulipata from Kenya Power. Kwa hiyo text kuna code 2. Weka code ya kwanza ku reset token meter. Alafu weka code ya pili ku update token meter.
Thank you for joining us on Healthy Living. Stay connected to Voice of America at voanews.com. A look at your kidneys and how they impact your health. And an expert discusses chronic kidney disease and how to protect yourself. And Ivorian psychologist Noor Bakayoko shares some insights on bullying and what can be done.
It's important to avoid major events or major health crises.
How do you know if your cough is due to a serious condition? We'll have some answers. Stay well
and strive to make every day a healthy day.
The young generation awakens on Y254, the leading youth TV station in Kenya. We treat you to current affairs, entrepreneurship, health, and human interest conversations.
It's art, it's culture.
Movies, gossip and trends, sports, drama.
We bring you a vibe like no other, straight to your living room.
To keep you informed, inspired, entertained, and most of all, refreshed.
We are such a vibe.
Y254. Imagine.
This is Good Morning Kenya. Thank you for staying with us. My name is Vivian Ndegwa, and right now we jump on to yet another discussion right here on the show, and we will be looking at drug abuse among the youth in Kenya. And for this conversation, I am joined by Rita Hayo. She is the Capacity Building Officer, NACADA. And according to a report, it shows that 1 in every 6 people between the ages of 15 and 65 in Kenya are abusing at least one drug. So we're going to be looking at this statistic and try to look at where exactly the root cause of all this is at and how to try and avert that. And Rita is right here for that. Good morning.
Good morning, Vivian.
You're doing well?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Now, if I look just from the statistics, 1 in every 6 people between the ages of 15 and 65, and I feel like 15 is quite young,
Sure.
are using at least a drug. That is the statistics in Kenya right now. What is causing this, maybe?
All right, Vivian, thank you so much for having me. Thank you, KBC. So looking at the statistics, the national survey that was conducted in 2022 on alcohol and drug abuse in the country, actually, whatever you're saying is true. The abuse is growing day in, day out, and there are many factors that are attributed to this. And as we go on with the discussion, we'll be looking at these kind of factors, and a majority of them are environmental, coupled with the personalities of the people. And looking at the statistics, basically the youth, you see, as per the Constitution, let us put it at between 15 and 35 of age. When you look at it, you see the ages of 15 to 24, they're more into use of bangi. And the age of 25 to 35, more using alcohol. And actually, looking at the statistics, alcohol is the leading drug that people are abusing commonly.
Yeah. So the most commonly abused drugs in Kenya are alcohol and bang.
Sure.
Yeah.
But if you go with the statistics, it begins with alcohol, followed by the tobacco products, followed by cat, and then now that is where now bangi cannabis come in. Yes, at number 4. But worldwide, if you look at the World Drug Report that was released for 2024, remember we normally celebrate the International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking on the 26th of June. If you look at that report again, you will see now worldwide cannabis is leading. So like worldwide is cannabis, and then the opioids, because there's this emerging trend of the synthetic drugs. Yes.
Well, let's get into the causes. You talked about the environmental factors, that are leading to the drug abuse or the increase of drug abuse that we're experiencing right now in the country. So what are some of these environmental causes?
Okay, let me begin by saying we look at the causes as per the setting. And this setting begins from the family setting, because that is the first place where a person or a child is brought up. So we have the family setting. So within this family setting, there are various factors that can make one use or not choose to use. And this begins with the kind of family that you're brought up in. What are the values that the family hold dear? How are you bringing up your children? When children are growing up, are you the kind of a parent that you permit or allow use of alcohol and drugs within the family? How is the environment within the family? Is it a warm, welcoming environment that this child can thrive without many other challenges like lack of school fees, lack of care, and all that? So from the family, we look at the second setting, and the second setting is the school. We look at the setting as per how they transition. So because from family, now this child goes to school. So in school, what is happening around the school? The school environment. Is it somewhere that the teachers are taking their responsibility to nurture a child's kind of, to bring up a child in a way that is permitted as per the school guidelines, the school rules, the school policies? Is this a compound where they permit sale of these kind of substances? Because sometimes the research has shown that in schools, this is somewhere that we have peddlers bringing in some of these drugs, alcohol, and all those sorts of things. So we look at that, and NACADA has also come up with guidelines because of this. Guidelines that will help to look into issues of alcohol and drugs within the school compound. And some of the things you are talking about is when you are putting up kiosks, allowing people to sell things like the mandazis, all these things that they bring maybe when they're having school games. Are you able to vet these people who are doing business around the school compound so that you get to know that whatever they're selling to the kids are not things that are also laced? From the school setting, now we go to the workplace. So at the workplace, what can also affect this kind of workers at this workplace? Are they the stressors within the workplace? How conducive is the work environment for this employee? From the workplace, now we go to the community. So you see, in every setting here, there are reasons and many other things that can make you to either become a partaker or not to. We have people who have never tasted alcohol since they were born. We have people who have never used bangi, any other drug since they were born. Yes. So when I talk about the environment, there are those environments that we are able to make a difference. When we talk about family, we talk about school, and we talk about the workplace. These are environments where if you and me, Vivian and Rita, decide that my house will never have anyone coming in drunk, will never have anyone drinking alcohol within my house, or at the workplace, you have policies and you decide, here you can never come in drunk. And if you have a drinking problem, how do we then help you? You come up with policies to take care of the people who are affected by issues of alcohol and substances.
Addiction, Now, accessibility of some of these drugs is what is also aiding, you know, the increase of the use of alcohol and some of the substance abuse. So is there something that is being done, matters accessibility, that it is not as easily accessible, especially to the younger children, because a 15-year-old is still a child.
Sure,
you know?
Yeah. So matters availability and accessibility has been also another challenge. And please remember, with our new constitution, the constitution that we have now, issues of licensing are devolved. So basically, issues of availability, when we see the mushrooming outlets everywhere, then we are also thinking about the county government. So we say the county government should tighten its rope so that we do not have all these mushrooming outlets everywhere, near schools, near residential areas where now children can easily access. And again, we have our Alcoholic Drinks Control Act 2010. This is the mother of all the county laws on liquor licensing and all that. So every other county has come up with their law that is based on what is in the mother law, which is the ADCA 2010. So in this law, we say you are not supposed to sell to children under the age of 18. So even when you see some people allowing or some people just selling to people who are under 18, they're not doing it right. And we ask ourselves, where are our values and our morals? Because if you are into liquor business and you know very well the law does not permit sale to under 18, why are you selling to them? So sometimes we also say it stems from parenting. As a parent, what values have we instilled in our children? To let them know that you are under 18. What business do you have even going to the club or even the wines and spirits shop? And sometimes you see even in our families, some of our relatives are the same people who send our children to these outlets, maybe even to buy for them. If you look at the statistics, you find that the initiation period for tobacco is 6 years.
Wow.
Yes. It's 6 years. And this means, how have these children learned that they can smoke? They have learned because someone was sending them to sell, to go and get them, maybe a single stick or something from the shop.
That
So
curiosity
that
maybe.
way, their curiosity gets growing.
Yeah.
And with time, they also try to experiment. Yes.
What are the legal consequences? Because you said, you know, there's that act that you follow or that you abide by. What are the legal consequences?
Okay, the act stipulates that children are not supposed to be entering pubs, wines and spirits, restaurants, anywhere where alcohol is sold. But you see, and there are fines attached to it. But in our country, Kenya, you see, parents are the first people to take their children to the pub. And sometimes you have our officers going round. And when they meet you with their children and they know this is a place selling liquor, they tell you, madam or mom or dad, please leave. Children are not supposed to be here. Because, you know, we cannot arrest the underage, of course. Yes?
Yeah.
It is you, the parent, who is doing something that is not permissible. And there are fines attached to the same. I have just said that.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So what is the connection between drug abuse and mental health disorders? Because sometimes they kind of, you know, correlate. So what is the connection?
So with drug abuse and mental illness, actually, there's a very thin line between the two. Yes.
Yeah.
So you find someone with a mental illness will easily use drugs or alcohol to cope.
Yeah.
And someone who is taking alcohol or other drugs, they always have an underlying reason. And this underlying reason can crop from issues of stress, depression, and all that. And this eventually gets to mental illness. Yes.
Yeah. Are there long-term physical or even mental effects of using, you know, or abusing some of these substances?
Sure, they are, Vivian. Especially when you use cannabis. Cannabis is associated with the long-term, you know, most of these drugs we use, especially, they have two kind of feelings. The two kind of effects. The primary effects, and they have the secondary effects. For the primary effect is the feel good that we all want to get associated with. I drink because I want to feel high. I smoke, I puff because I want to get stimulated. And each and every drug has a different kind of effect on the body. There are those that stimulate you or raise your heart rate or your feeling, you know, you get hyper, and there are those that depress you, the depressants. So we have the stimulants, the depressants, and all that. So basically, for something like cannabis, when you take cannabis over a long period of time, it gets to the stages where now you get into a condition called schizophrenia. This is now the deeper side of the mental illness. And that is how we end up seeing people with mental disease out here, and a majority of Kenyans refer to them like mwendazimu, you know. Yes.
And
and this is actually, Vivian, this is actually because alcohol and all these other substances, they target the brain center. Yes. They target the brain center. So everything you do, that is connected with alcohol and drugs is affecting your central nervous system. And the central nervous system basically is the brain and the spinal cord. So, and remember, we all know that the brain is the main driver of our body. So once the brain is fractured, is injured, and then that is it.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's very dangerous, you know, when you put it that way, then the dangers are... the danger is just so obvious. Now, are there people who are more prone to addiction?
First, let us realize that addiction is a brain relapsing disease. Actually a chronic brain relapsing disease. Chronic, it takes over time. And our addiction varies from one person to another. There are people who will be drinking, there are people who will be using these substances, but they do not get into addiction.
Exactly.
Actually.
Yeah.
And this is so because addiction is dependent on very many other factors, like the gender, male or female, Like ladies progress more faster to addiction than men.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
And this is so because our water content in our bodies is much lower as compared to the male, yes. And also sometimes you find with male, they have an enzyme in their body called the alcohol dehydrogenase, which helps them digest their alcohol faster. And then again, it's also dependent on if you are having any other underlying condition. Maybe you are sick, you have any other sicknesses, you are taking other medication, and again you are drinking. You are prone to get into addiction faster. Again, another thing is if you start drinking early, if you are introduced to issues of alcohol and drugs earlier, especially the teenage, then the probability of getting into addiction is much more higher than if you started at the age of let's talk of 21. And that is why even in our Alcoholic Drinks Control Act 2010, we are saying at least we allow the brain to develop. This is so because brain matures at the age of 25. Yes, it doesn't stop growing, but the maturity point of the brain is 25 years. So we are saying let the children's brain develop. You can imagine this is a child whose brain is trying just to get together and to form, and then you're introducing alcohol, which has all this poison, the ethanol, and what have you. So it confuses the baby even more. So that is why we are saying allow the children's brain to develop so that they do not have these future problems of getting into addiction. So addiction again is dependent on many other factors, and we are even told if you must drink, eat fast, so that when this alcohol gets into the system, it is getting something like a base.
Yeah. Well, we learn something new every day. I didn't know that women are more prone to addiction than men, so that's a first for me.
It is called telescoping.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Maybe what are some of the signs that one can look out for, say for a mother who has this son who's into maybe drugs, but they're not sure? Are there telltale signs that they can pick up and maybe try find help for them?
Okay, thank you. Currently, we see families where everyone is busy. We see families where parents are they become workaholics. You go to work in the morning, you come back in the evening, you just change, maybe get a shower, and you are onto your laptop, you're working. You don't know where your children are, you don't know whether they have eaten, you don't know what they're doing in their rooms. So it is very, very important that as parents, we be present, we be responsive, and we get involved in what our children are doing. Because that is the only way that you will know whatever changes your child might be showing. Things like having family rituals, it is very important. Have your meals together at the table. Maintain eye contact with your children, you know. Because these teenagers, at some point when they are into something mischievous, they tend to avoid the eye contact because maybe they are feeling like, you know, once you take a drug or alcohol, whatever it is, it alters your normal functioning.
True.
Your behavior will just change. So when you get into the habit of following through and knowing what and where your child is, you'll be able to tell. Visit their rooms. You'll be able to tell if they're throwing their clothes all over. They're just shaggy and shabby in the room. You'll be able to tell. Then you'll start asking, what is happening with my son? If it is a child who has been dressing so clean, so neat, and all of a sudden things have changed, they are into this ragged and they are not combing their hair, you need to find out what might be happening. What is the change? And also sometimes some of them lose appetite, others eat more. For instance, those who are using cannabis, their appetite might just grow. Yeah, such kind of things.
All right. So with that, I mean, it's very important you cannot tell when something has changed if you are never in the lives of these children.
Present.
So you have to be present and like really actively present in it, you know. And what is the impact, you know, of the increasing number of alcohol and substance abuse in the country generally for the society?
Okay, thank you. Of course, there are legal implications. We have seen people who do drunk driving. And then, of course, there are accidents that come with that.
Okay.
So apart from legal, we also have issues of diseases, sicknesses. Of course, issues of, if you look at something like tobacco, which of course has the nicotine thing inside, a lot of cardiovascular diseases come with it, the cancer diseases. And then we also have issues of family breakups. And for the youth, of course, we have economic implications. People are not working. People are not waking up. You see the current crop of the people we have waking up at midday. They sleep at 3 a.m. They wake up at midday. And then you are thinking, will this one be able to go out there, look for a job and just wake up at 6, prepare and leave and yes, such kind of things. So the implication is far wide. We have family breaking up. We have children in school who are also dropping in their performance. Such kind of things.
All right. Okay. And I'll have to cut you short on that and maybe on this particular interview because we need to link up with our reporter Aziz, who is on ground in Kisii. We know that the president is on a development tour in Kisii County. Yesterday, we saw him launch the Nyaribari Chache Cancer Center, whereby they did the groundbreaking. And today, the president is on to something else, and that is what Aziz will be telling us all about, and that is the affordable housing launch as well. Aziz, if you can hear me, take it over.
Thank you so much, Vivian, there from Broadcasting House. We're coming to you live from Kisii County, especially in Ogembo Town, for the launch of the affordable housing project in Bomachoge Chache. You do know that this has been the presidential tour that kicked off from Monday. It will be concluded today here in the Greater Gusii region before the president heads over to the Greater Rift Valley region. Now, the president has various stopovers aside from the Ogembo Town affordable housing project. It will be the Nyabiosi, Nduru, Matanga, Mano Road in South Mugirango, as well as the last mile connectivity, Mokoma Village in Nyakiringi, Kabeba, Riasuta in South Mugirango, and finally the president will cap it off by visiting Kieni Road in Borabu constituency in Nyamira County. You do know this is the tone that the president has been able to set. The principal secretary for housing, Charles Hinga, is already here, and we would like to get his point of view when it comes to the affordable housing project. You do know that the president has been launching these key projects in these various great counties, and now Kisii and Nyamira as well is the latest counties. But let's get to, in just a few, we want to speak to the PS who is currently here, Mr. Charles Hinga, on the affordable housing project. You know that the government is targeting 10,000 houses here in Kisii as well as in Nyamira County. The president clearly stating that this will build more job opportunities for the youths, especially here in the country. You do know that the agitation has been unemployment and joblessness here in the country, with the president clearly stating that they have a plan to ensure that they pass through. As you can see, the motorcade of the president will be arriving any moment from now. The key government officials led by the principal secretary Charles Hinga and other directors here in the housing program are currently here and conversing. Before we even speak to the PS, if my cameraman can show you, the area has already filled to the brim with residents of here of Ogembo Town wanting to see the president, as well as seeing how this affordable housing project is going to be launched. You do know that the government is targeting 10,000 houses. As I told you, the president clearly stated that this is the plan that the government has to ensure that every Kenyan are home owners. Now let's head over to the PS who's already lined up. PS, thank you so much. In just a few minutes, PS, just a quick word. We are live on KBC right now. PS, quickly, I know you are aligning yourself for the president who is just about to arrive any moment from now. In Nyamira and Kisii County, how many houses are being targeted to be built here?
Here in Kisii, within this time, we want to do about 10,000. We've already started on 3 sites. Yesterday, we were in Nyaribari Masaba. We are here to Ogembo today. And then we have a big site in Nyanchwa, where we're going to do 2,400. So work has already started.
And PS, how many people are you targeting to employ, especially here in the Greater Gusii region?
Yeah, in just Kisii alone, we are targeting to employ another 20,000 young people towards this work. And then also we have about 17 markets that we are also building. You also know they will also absorb a lot of working people.
Just a few months ago, the president clearly stating that the housing department will be launching some of these key houses and people will start occupying those houses. So are those houses near completion, and in which areas are you likely to launch?
Yeah, we have quite a number of houses that are now at the what is called the finishing stage. Mukuru, the first phase, about 1,082 units are almost done. We're just waiting for lifts. And then we have got some projects that we started which are called 200 units per constituency, where we started of about 16 sites. And those ones are towards the end of the year, early next year, they'll be ready for occupation. So right now, beginning September, we are going to go on an overdrive to just now sensitize Kenyans. How do you own this home? And where are they? That's what we're going to be doing.
And then finally, PS, tell us your message to Kenyans who are currently watching you right now. Your message to Kenyans?
Yeah, my message to Kenyans is that one is that we are on the ground. We really thank you for the sacrifices that you're making. We want to say it's not something that we take for granted, and we want to say that your money is being utilized very well. It is making a big difference on the ground. Lots of people who had no hope of work have work, and now they are also going to get dignity.
Thank you, PS, and apologies for interrupting your meeting. I saw you in a meeting, yes. But thank you so much for...
This is my office.
Yes, thank you for...
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, PS. That was PS for Housing. That is Mr. Charles Singer, just telling us all the government's program and what are their plans, given that in September you've just heard from the PS himself that they'll start be launching these particular houses and Kenyans will start becoming homeowners. The presidential motorcade is expected here any moment from now. The government officials led
All right, and that is Aziz coming to us live from Kisii County. And as you've heard him just having a short interview with the PS, that is PS Charles Hinga of Housing and Urban Development. And he just talked about how many houses they are targeting, and that they're targeting 10,000 houses in Kisii County, and also targeting to employ around 20,000 youth from that particular project. The president is expected to be there any moment from now, and when that happens, we'll be taking you right back there. Back to you, Madam Rita. As we come to a close of this conversation, because of time, maybe how effective are rehabilitation centers? Because maybe there's someone who's watching us right now, they're an addict, or they have a family member or friend who is an addict, and they're considering rehabilitation. So are they effective? How effective are they, and how accessible are they, and do we have enough rehabilitations in the country?
Thank you so much, Vivian. Rehabilitation centers are effective, yes. And let me mention this, that healing comes from inside you. So you find there has been a culture in Kenya where people are forced into rehabilitation centers. So if you take me without my willingness, chances of my recovery might be very minimal. So what I can say is rehabilitation is effective, but again, make sure that you are visiting the NACADA website to be able to take your people to the rehabs that we have accredited. Because this is a business that other people have also gotten in, some have not come through us. So as a Kenyan, I can advise you go through NACADA. You can also call our toll-free number, 1192, for advice. They will, yes, 1192 is a toll-free number, 24 hours, 7 days a week. So before you even think about rehabilitation, always talk to your people. You can also do counseling, and you do screening before you reach the point where you are assessing and now referring this person to the treatment facility. And I want to mention, just as we wind up, that as a country, let us look at the emerging trends. Our children are getting very clever with the kind of chemistry they're learning in school. There's the issues of vaping, and there's the issues of emerging trends where they are using these emerging, the synthetic drugs. So at times where they do polydrugging and mix all these things, you might not be able to tell what particular drug they're using. So let us be vigilant with our people around us, whether it is our colleagues, whether it is our children, that these things called vaping, they're not safe. These are marketing gimmicks. They are not safe. Vape is something that has nicotine inside. Nicotine, basically that tobacco. So if you see your children with these kind of gadgets within the house, sometimes it's not easy to tell. The gadgets look very stylish, like you would be thinking maybe this is a flash disk, this is a pen, and they're flavored. So please let us all be vigilant with our children, and hope is not lost. A majority of youth are not even using drugs and alcohol. Many of them are just doing the experimental thing. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for joining us and shedding light on this conversation. And there's a toll-free number, as Madam Rita has just mentioned to us. If you happen to know someone who's struggling with addiction, or if you want to get any information on maybe addiction and whatnot, there's the toll-free number, which is 1192. You can have that maybe saved on your phone, maybe for later use. And this is where we end Good Morning Kenya for today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Now we'll finish off here from us on Good Morning Kenya, but there's a lot more going to be happening. Of course, we are expecting the president to get to launch the affordable housing in Kisii, and then we also have the Senate proceedings. Goodbye.
Safaricom, proud sponsor of Team Kenya at the Olympics.
What a run! What a finish! It's the last athletics gold! It couldn't be this dramatic, could it? Bronze in the 5,000, bronze in the 10,000. She said she was going to do the Zatopek. Nobody believed it was possible. And she's pulling away from the world record holder. This is a performance that will never be forgotten. Sifan Hassan, in her own inimitable style, does something incredible. 2 bronze medals on the track, but it's all gold on the road. Brilliant from Hassan. The world record holder is stunned in silver, and Helena Beery follows up 2 silvers on the track with a bronze in the marathon. Lokadi is 4th.
Safaricom, proud sponsor of Team Kenya at the Olympics.
Hello. J&J is going places.
Unajua nini babako anafanyanga kweli? Enlighten me, Christabel.
Connie, what exactly did Kaikara say?
When you're here, you're my eyes and ears. I'm working for your father, not you, Alice.
Ronald, you really think you're untouchable, huh?
If anything happens to me,
takungoa meno na nyundo. Ndio ujue. Toka hapa. Looks like you speak for Joel's family now. So what do they want?
Don't threaten my mother again.
Don't ever say I didn't try to save you.
Mom, Georges, Mom, amki.
Auntie.
Mama, amki.
Praise the Lord. My name is Pastor Tim Mwangi, and I want to invite you every Saturday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1 for the Angaza Show.